Hi there and welcome. My name is Kaylin Flowers, and on behalf of the Louisville Historical Museum, welcome to this video on Louisville's history of trash. You can read more about this subject in the recent Louisville Historian article, which is pictured here, and you can find it at the web address listed on your screen. The Louisville Historian is the Louisville, Colorado Historical Museum's quarterly publication. First, we'll go over a brief history of trash in Louisville. Louisville, Colorado started as a coal mining town in the late 1800s. Residents of Louisville started out getting rid of trash and refuse by burning it. They'd burn it in an ash pit, in an incinerator, or in a pit they dug in their yard. These methods were effective for early Louisville residents, but not necessarily great for the environment. There was no trash pickup in Louisville in the early days. Residents in the past were responsible for trash disposal, and it was not assumed that the city would provide a method for trash removal. As the town grew, became more dense in population, and as the types of trash changed, they started to run into some issues. There are several reasons why residents of Louisville changed from burning their trash to having it hauled away. Some of the reasons were their own choice, and some of them were choices that were made for them. I've listed some of these here below. For the first one, as we're thinking about the town of Louisville and residents burning trash in their backyards, we start to think about the smell. There are coal mines all around town. People are using coal and burning it to heat their homes and cook their food, so we have the smell from that. And also, people are burning their garbage in their backyards on a daily basis. In earlier periods of Louisville history, we didn't have plastic or styrofoams. But as we start to get into the 1950s, those plastics and styrofoams start to become commonplace. And burning those items puts off a very strong scent and surely affected a lot of residents that lived in close quarters in downtown Louisville. The second reason is danger. This reason for switching methods was that burning trash was dangerous. Within a span of 10 years, there were 9 reports in the Louisville Times newspaper of children getting seriously injured by playing near or doing their chores around an ash pit. It was often a child's chore to tend to the ash pit and burn the garbage and ashes in the smoldering ash pits. The third reason is the threat of disease. During the late 1940s and early 1950s, it was believed that insects were spreading polio. Flies and other insects were attracted to the ash pits and garbage in general. This made families fearful for their children and resulted in many families either trading their ash pit in for an incinerator, which was better closed or sealed, or having their ash pits cleaned and sprayed with DDT. As we know now, DDT was very harmful as well. So the fear of disease pushed people away from using ash pits. The next item is non-burnable trash. People were starting to have appliances and items that you just can't stick in an ash pit. Think of very early refrigerators. Those are items that you don't know where to take to dispose of them. And if you've always burned all of your trash, where do you take items that aren't easily burned? This question led to people dumping trash in places that weren't meant for trash. The last reason for switching is the sheer volume of garbage. Families were producing more garbage per family unit than ever before. Families in previous years would have had food scraps that they could have fed to an animal or livestock or burned. They might have had paper waste that they also could have burned. But starting in the 1950s, you get a volume of garbage that your backyard ash pit and possibly even incinerator couldn't keep up with. People began littering in public spaces because there was not an organized or community agreed upon plan for garbage management. The alleys and rail lines in Louisville were used as dump sites. And because of this, there were several complaints from residents about the cleanliness of the town in the late 1940s and 1950s in the Louisville Times newspaper. So as we have this influx of garbage and nowhere for it to go, the town has to grapple with this issue of how do we provide people with a safe place to take their garbage? Starting in the 1940s, Louisville town officials started to pay residents and local farmers to use their land for garbage disposal. This started with the Bora family in 1942. This organized a place where Louisville residents could dump garbage and provided a little extra income for those families the town paid to use their land. The challenge was to keep up with the growing amounts of trash that needed disposal. As the garbage volume increased, they needed larger spaces. A small ditch on someone's farm was no longer going to suffice. The town needed a large, set-aside place for garbage. And it just so happened that they had these ready-made holes in the ground that were left over from coal mining, the coal mining shafts. If we remember, Louisville started as a coal mining town. When the coal mines closed or ceased operation, they left behind vertical mine shafts that ranged in depth. Coal mining was declining in the 1950s, and retired mine shafts seemed to be the solution that the town needed. The town acquired permission from individual landowners to use the retired mine shafts on their properties. This solution created the need for the town to continue providing landfill space. Town officials kept finding that the mine shafts they set aside as landfills were filling at rates much faster than they assumed. In one case, residents of Louisville filled two 300-foot deep mining shafts with garbage in less than 1 year. There was an obvious need for an organized waste management plan. But pressed for time to create this plan, the town ended up encouraging residents to burn everything that they could. Just when residents started to get used to hauling their garbage to landfills, the town switched gears and went back to encouraging backyard burning. This led to greater issues of smoke, smell, and smog in the area. This issue of smoke and smog was receiving attention across the state of Colorado. In Pueblo, Colorado, they banned backyard burning in 1955 to try to cut down on the smog. Additionally, from Denver to the Front Range, there was a cloud of smog known as the brown cloud. Later, it was determined that this cloud was mostly caused by vehicle pollution. But at the time, in the 1950s, it was thought that backyard burning was greatly contributing to it. So there is this tension between air pollution getting worse and the landfills filling too fast. The town of Louisville is stuck in the middle trying to mediate this. And in 1968, Boulder County banned backyard burning, leading Louisville to have to provide dumping grounds for much more trash than they ever had before. So we've been talking about these areas in the abstract. Let's focus on these areas using a map. This map is showing mines that were in the area of Louisville, noted by the blue markers. It also shows trash dumping grounds in Louisville that were paid for by the town of Louisville, noted by the orange markers. There were more mines and landfills than are on this map. This shows specifically the Louisville mines and landfills. Now, this second map kind of zooms it in. To get your bearings, you can see Highway 36 at the bottom of your screen. Midway up on the photo, you can see Highway 287. This map is interactive and available online if you'd like to play around with it, maybe zoom in, find Main Street, that kind of thing. The link to this map and the interactive digital version is in the description of this video. So how did we get here? How did we get from ash pits and backyard trash burning to landfills and community-wide trash collection? In the 1960s, Colorado started moving towards ending the practice of backyard burning. So ash pits and incinerators were no longer going to be allowed. This shift ended up requiring that cities provided a service for trash collection. Otherwise, they ran into issues of trash piling up in private and public spaces. Trash pickup was not a revolutionary idea, but it also wasn't something that the city had provided up until that point. In the 1940s and 50s, local youngsters would earn money hauling trash into the dump sites. And in the 1950s, households could elect to pay a hauling company to remove their garbage. But this wasn't a city-sponsored thing. It wasn't a citywide program until many years later. In 1962, City Council decided to accept proposals for a citywide trash hauling service. They wanted to have one company collect garbage from every household in Louisville and have this be a mandated program, meaning you couldn't elect in or out. They accepted bids from local companies and had several public meetings. They quickly realized that there was going to be a lot of pushback from residents, and many people didn't want to have to pay for their garbage to be removed. There was concern over the annual cost, and several arguments against the service brought forth. So this idea was kind of put on hold as more research was done by the city. In 1966, the city contracted Town and Company Disposal. This was a trash hauling service that was contracted to remove garbage from all the homes in Louisville. While trash pickup seemed like a step forward, and it was, compared to backyard burning and the air pollution caused by that, having trash hauled away has had negative side effects that were unforeseen. Having trash hauled away from your home creates distance between each resident and their trash footprint. By not having to physically dispose of trash themselves, residents of Louisville and residents of cities all over the place that have trash collection have become disconnected from the volume of trash that they are producing. While it was a good move away from backyard burning, it created this issue of not being aware of your footprint. In response to this issue, the city started participating in a recycling program in 1988. The program, known still as EcoCycle, was started by Town and Country Disposal. After the museum published our initial research on this topic of Louisville's history with trash, staff received a few questions about where all the garbage in these retired mine shafts and landfills, makeshift landfills, had gone. The answer is, we aren't exactly sure. It's likely that the garbage is still underground. Many of the mine shafts and landfills have now been filled or covered over. In the 1980s, the Colorado State Mine Land Reclamation Division began filling old mines to avoid sinkholes and subsidence. This effort came to Louisville in 1987. Between 1987 and 1989, construction crews were hired to fill the remaining mine shafts with a slurry mixture of water and sand. They employed the Mart Development Company, Goodson and Associates, and the Jasinski Construction Company to help with these efforts. They began with the Acme Mine in 1987, which had previously been used by locals as a dump site for trash. And this is the Acme Mine that was just at. They determined how large the gap was between the debris in the vertical mine shaft and the surface of the earth, the surface of the ground that we walk on. It is unclear if the debris mentioned in the report were left over from mining or was a reference to garbage that residents had thrown into the mine. The assessment of danger led them to filling a 112-foot gap in the Acme mine with a slurry mixture. In the photo at the bottom of the screen, you can see a cement truck backed up to the opening of a mine shaft. It is pumping a cement or slurry mixture through a hydraulic pump into the ground. Similar to this, they filled local mines like the Acme Mine, Regal Mine, Old Centennial Mine, the Monarch Mine, the Black Diamond Mine, and the Haywood Mine between 1987 and 1989. The newspaper reports on 10 additional local mines that were filled, one of which is believed to be the electric mine. The Colorado Mine Land Reclamation Division had the main goal of making the mine shaft safer, and for that we are glad. In recent years, the city of Louisville has taken significant steps towards being a more sustainable place. Many of the steps have been taken toward energy efficiency and renewable energy. However, there is more work to be done. There are a lot of ways that we can be more sustainable. The museum hopes that this historic perspective of how people in the past disposed of their trash will affect the way that you think about waste management in the present and also in planning for the future. Some small steps you can take now are to be aware of the volume of garbage that you are producing and knowing where your trash goes. Most of us have a trash collection service that stops by our house once each week. Do you know where your trash is hauled to? Which landfill? Creating a mental connection between what we throw away and the physical site where it is taken to can help us be more cautious of what we throw away. While researching trash history in Louisville, the museum identified a few ash pits and incinerators that were in yards of local Louisville residents. We invite you to come see the reconstructed 1910s ash pit on the museum's campus and reach out to the museum if you have information about trash disposal or ash pits in Louisville. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.